You're on.
Oh, all right, Rocket. Sorry, I was just grooving to the music, brother. Welcome, everybody, to the Problem Solver Politics live stream. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Oh, hey, everybody.
And, yeah, there's a lot going on right now. We got people streaming here, people streaming there, us streaming here. And everybody's talking about, well, Cody, tell us what's going on and what we should be talking about.
Well, okay. I mean, there's a lot that's happened regarding Andrew Yang and his mayoral campaign, which I want to go over a little bit here. I do want to eventually get around talking about some other stuff, but this Andrew Yang mayoral campaign has been in the, what's the word I'm looking for? The
zeitgeist.
No.
The news.
It's been inevitable to start for weeks now.
Okay.
It did actually officially start yesterday. He kicked off his campaign officially. So
okay.
He has a whole platform and policies we want to go through. That'll take some time to do with you guys. What else? A couple other things. But right now, I just want to kind of go over some of the stuff going on right now with Andrew Yang's mayoral campaign, because today was an interesting day. It was his first day campaigning officially or his first full day, right? For the full day campaign for mayor. I think he announced 5 p.m. last night, Pacific, 8 Eastern, something like that, whatever.
Yep.
Either way, basically what happened is that he spent basically all day. I mean, he did the Breakfast Club this morning. He had a press conference this morning with a couple of nice high-profile endorsements and announcing people that were working on his campaign. Excuse me. Then he went across town, just kept doing events with people, meeting with. It was like all day I would just see Andrew Yang's here, Andrew Yang's there. So obviously, big press day. He announced he's running. He wants to get in front of a lot of people. But one thing I want to talk about for the most part right now, because again, we're going to do some videos, some other streams going through his policies, his platforms, more specific, deeper stuff. But one kind of big picture thing I noticed over the past couple days, I guess we'll start off by, I want to run this for you guys, which is, actually, hold on. Because Yang is also actually right now hosting a virtual town hall event, and I am interested in what he's saying is that. So I might pull that up for a minute as well. We'll get to a second. Anyway, first thing I want to show you guys, if you haven't seen it already, the ad that Andrew Yang announced he was going to be running. I'm sure you guys have all seen it already, but the reason I want to watch it again is because one thing that's very interesting about this ad, his announcement ad, is actually directed by Academy Award nominee Darren Aronofsky. New York
City always felt like the center of the universe.
I don't know. I'm kind of trying to watch it now with an eye for a filmmaker.
I grew up an hour north and came into the city with my brother whenever I could. In 1996, I moved to Morningside Heights.
Ooh, that's up there.
I went to my friend's shows. I was in the garden for Larry Johnson's 4-point play.
Mets or Yankees?
Let's go Mets.
Knicks or Nets?
I'm sorry, Knicks, but you've been too bad for too long.
I came of age, fell in love, and became a father here.
Hey guys, thank you.
My wife Evelyn is from Queens. Both my sons were born at St. Luke's.
Papaya King or Grace Papaya?
Grace Papaya, the champ.
Eventually, I became a CEO. I started a nonprofit.
Hello.
President Obama named me a champion of change and an ambassador for entrepreneurship. I ran for president because I saw that the economy was not working for every...
I'm going to pause it here. So
I was going to say, he is selling that I'm from here.
That's
line.
what I was going to say.
He's
it's not
selling
until
it
about
hard.
a minute into this 2-minute ad that he actually says anything about why he kind of wants to be mayor.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know anything about Papaya King or Grace Papaya. It's literally just New York City talk with people like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be like if someone's running for mayor, like, I love Pink's hot dogs. I mean, weird, but it's just, you could definitely tell. I'll run the rest of the ad, but I mean, yeah, about 50 seconds into this 2.5-minute ad is when he finally starts getting over the, I was in the garden for Larry Johnson's 4-point play. I'm a basketball fan, so I know what that is.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you even
actually
lived
what's
there
funny
temporarily
is, no, that's old school. My dad would know what that is. Because, like, I mean, Oh no, sorry, not Larry Bird. Larry Johnson.
Yeah.
Sorry, I take that back. I was thinking Larry Bird. I was like,
Anyway.
dude, that's like the '90s,
Anyway,
man.
no, I'm not trying to like rag on him, but it's clear you can tell even in this first ad he puts out that like he's really trying to sell that he's a New Yorker from New York. Especially remember we talked about the other day that that article came out. I think it was Politico originally reported that the New York Times ran with it.
See, what's funny
that
is
he had moved out of the city. People are like, oh, he's not a real New Yorker. It's just his ad is heavy-handed on I'm a New Yorker.
yeah,
you know?
and I usually cannot stand identity politics, which is what this is. Usually when you think identity politics, you think like, the corrosive SJW stuff. But like this is really like an interesting. See, I don't know what other choice he has. See, he's laying it on thick and heavy. You know what I'm saying? Which he has to, which gives the impression that he's selling something. But at the same time, it's like, I don't really know. Like, I think it was actually smart of him to do it this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it had to be done this way. I don't see any other interpretation. Because if not, and you see the headlines of outsider running for New York's spot he doesn't deserve, and you click and you watch the first 30 seconds of his video, and there's not a rebuttal to that, you're in bad shape.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll run the rest of the ad. I know I'm trying to get into if I can pull up the town hall, because he is doing a town hall like literally right now. I didn't know he was doing this till we were about to get started.
Pot 11 and 12 is up, I can tell.
No, but I'm trying to figure out how to like get further in, dude. It's on. I don't know if it's on Periscope or what. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna work on that a little bit. See if I can bring this up better for you guys. Besides just showing a tiny window of it. But in the meantime, yeah, finish the ad really quickly because then I want to get into the second part of the video today and kind of the other reason why I want to talk
Day
about
Americans.
Okay.
this. Again, though,
60%.
cool. This video directed by Academy Award nominee Darren Aronofsky. Very interesting.
Seeing my city the way it is now breaks my heart.
What happened to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so many others, it's beyond injustice. It's inhuman.
We need to realize Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of a guaranteed minimum income and get cash into the hands of people who need it most.
Hang in there, help's on the way.
We'll bring New York City into the 21st century by getting everyone high-speed internet so our kids can learn.
Hire more teachers and reduce the class sizes. I think that would make a big difference. It's hard, when you have a class of 30 kids.
We'll take back control of our subway.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
We'll create a people's bank so it stops being so expensive to be poor.
Era meds, like that was a really universal basic income is so critical. Surest way to end poverty is to put money in people's pockets. It's that simple.
We'll reopen intelligently to revive our incredible culture. Maybe we can even save the Knicks.
It really is.
New York City has been my home for 25
I love that
years.
phrase.
It
It's
really
so
is
expensive
two
to be
different
poor.
We're
commercials.
public school parents.
There's
Yeah.
a minute-long commercial where Andrew Yang sells you on the fact that he's from New York, and then there's a minute-long commercial where he talks about why he's running. It's two
Cody.
separate ads.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Let's pray for a future New York City that we can all be proud of.
So that was it. I mean, I'm sorry I talked over a little bit of it. I'll have the link. I'm sure a lot of you guys seen it already, but that was Andrew Yang announcing that he is going to be running for mayor of New York City. Officially, that came out yesterday. Also, the other thing I want to show you guys, sorry.
Well,
he
before
posted
you go
that
any
yesterday.
further, Cody, we now, because he's going to have a lot of commercials, I am calling this the Book of Matthew commercial. And the reason why is I know you're huge on the Bible and you read the Bible every day.
Big time, it's me.
Yeah, huge. Do you happen to know in all of your training and your lengthy reading of the ancients what the whole first chapter of the book of Matthew is?
No.
First book of the whole New Testament is the most boring chapter on earth. And it says the book of the generation of Jesus Christ, son of David, son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac begot Jacob. Jacob begot Judas. Judas begot Phares. Phares begot Zara. It is a 3-page list of the credentials and genealogy of Jesus before he was born so they could say he was son of David. The whole first chapter of Andrew Yang's commercial is literally the exact same thing. It's literally just him naming credentials to prove that he is a son of the city. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I thought that was pretty hilarious. And Adam Duffy does point out that if you guys are going to hop in Yang's town hall, he's going to go in there and say, "What up, PSP," as a little Easter egg.
I was trying to get in. I'll see if I think you had to like sign up ahead of time. We'll see if you still can. I'm working on that. Like literally, like we're getting together, like getting the thumbnail added up and everything, and like I happened to tab over to Twitter. I'm like, oh, he's doing a town hall like literally as we're about to go live. So I would have probably just waited otherwise. But also, because I wonder if he's going to announce anything that'd be interesting to talk about in there. But also, I also wanted to point this out as well. Andrew Yang posted his campaign announcement video the other day, and it has yesterday at around this time, actually. Well, I mean, I can pull it up if you guys want to just watch along. We could just watch along. I was trying to see if I could actually get in. But yeah, I was going to do that as well. So give me a second. I'll pull it up so we can watch along with Yang. But I was trying to see if we can connect in. Here. I got a lot of buttons in front of me I got to press. Give me a break. But anyway, here we go.
Thank you.
Oh my God! Hey, well, there we go. There we go. Perfect. Ideal timing.
No, it just finished.
Yeah. The entire thing looks to be about 30 minutes long. So I'm probably going to be going back and watching this myself over tomorrow to talk about it tomorrow and the next day. So actually, I have a drive tomorrow for about an hour, so I'm probably going to listen to that on the drive so I can talk to you guys more about that. And I was trying to see if I can like connect in and get in. I was like trying to go to the sites because if we can get into the call itself. And by that time, of course, it ended. But it is up there. I'll post a link too if you guys actually want to go back and watch it yourself. See if you announce some stuff. But anyway, getting back to, I know we've gone way off the rails already. Apologize. But getting back to the idea that Andrew Yang is definitely I don't want to say a sore spot, but it seems to bother him that people are challenging his New Yorkness.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, that I don't know about you, but I guess those are hot dog places, right? Gray's Papaya and Papaya King, they're hot dog places.
Yeah, Gray's Papaya is the most famous hot dog place in New York.
But I mean, like, in the but it's just like a lot of New York City zingers. But anyways, this came out later in the day at a press junket. Because again, he basically spent the entire day just going from place to place to place to place to place and having media follow him. I want you to watch this video though and react to it. I actually have to turn it up a pretty good amount because he's kind of muffled through his mask. But watch this.
Anyone who thinks that somehow my New Yorkness is in question should just come and say it to my face and they'll see how ridiculous it is. I mean, if your plan during a crisis is to try to segment and divide New Yorkers against each other, you're probably the wrong person to lead the city.
Oh,
here's the thing.
Was that pre-planned? Was that seems like it was focus grouped.
No, it does not.
That's a smart response. Seems focus group.
That just seems like he was restraining himself for saying you should go shove off or something worse. But something else that was kind of uncharacteristically. He's normally
uncharacteristically angry.
Yeah, because he's normally Mr. Cool. He's normally always Mr. Cool. Mr. Cool, hey, ha ha ha, But he was actually hey, come say it to my face. I challenge. Here's the other thing too, which is interesting. This has been something people have talked about a bit as well. It's going to be a ranked choice primary. It is really interesting. Basically, day one of his campaign, Andrew Yang saying anyone who's in this race who's going to accuse me of not being a New Yorker, right?
Yeah. Shouldn't
be in this race. Well, it's interesting he said that because something else also came out. Because, Andrew Yang's the big dog. Everyone's going to be taking shots at him. It's just reality. It's what's going to happen, right? This came out. So this is from a reporter, Gloria Pazmino. She covers politics for NY1, local New York outlets. Used to work at Politico. Anyways, let me show you guys this one. This is apparently a text she got from a staffer for Scott Stringer. Sorry, Maya Rupert's doing that stuff earlier today. Check this out. Not Maya Rupert. It's for Twitter account. Excuse me. Anyways, though, this went out. Attributable to Tyrone Stevens. We welcomed Andrew Yang to the mayor's race and to New York City. Just little snide dig. Anyways, though, Andrew Yang has been hearing this stuff. And again, it just goes to, what was his response to these people? Basically says, you're probably the wrong person to lead this city if this is what you're going to do, is challenge my New Yorkness. So it is interesting. And again, obviously there's way more stuff going on with policies he's proposing. Some stuff I don't like that he's proposing, some stuff that I do. We're going to talk about as well. But just the first takeaway I've had today is his whole launch, his whole thing out the door is, I'm Andrew Yang. I'm from New York City. I'm a New York City person. I lived here for decades. My whole life was here, yada, yada, yada. New York City, New York City. His opponents seem to be attacking him on his New York City credentials almost immediately, and he's very defensive about it almost immediately. So before we can even get the policy, it's funny how this has from before he even officially announced till now, immediately after he announced, this is the thing that looks like it's going to keep coming up with him, which is such a stupid thing, I think, to come up with stuff like this.
Yeah.
He's not a real New. I didn't see you around. I think all that stuff's really stupid. But
now, so and
it's
there was only 2 questions that I had on this whole thing, this whole video. I thought it was great, cool vibe, very Andrew Yang-y. Didn't have any real crescendo that hit hard in any specific place. Seemed pretty boilerplate, but good enough. You know, I mean, it wasn't AOC's New York City ad, which was pretty legendary and awesome, if I may say so myself. But it worked.
How about
There was a couple things they mentioned, though, that I wasn't really as sure of. Like, I know there's always been drama with the transit system, but I thought that like dated back to the 70s.
Well, also like the
and so why
subway.
is he, the
system.
subway draws. Like, why is he tackling a subway issue that's 40 years old?
Well, no,
I mean, I
also
might have
the
to look up to
subway
it. Maybe there's
system,
something.
I believe is the responsibility of the governorship. It's not even like something the mayor would.
Well,
be
it's the
doing.
MTA, which is the Metro Transit Authority.
We've looked into this before. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I
For some
don't
reason-
know what the drama is, so I
the
got to look
governor,
into
not
it.
for some reason, the governorship controls it because it actually goes through like more than just New York City. So like they need anyway. It goes across state
That
lines.
sounds like some kind of political division that was done 100 years ago.
Dude,
in some
one of your
fight
funny story
between a New York
just
City
one of your
mayor
funny
and
story really quickly about it.
Yeah, what?
Sorry, because I want to eat something else after this too.
Okay.
Recently, they opened up a brand new train station in New York City.
Yeah.
Cuomo was there to cut the ribbon. It wasn't brand new. They refurbished one. They did a whole new remodel.
Yeah.
Cuomo was there to cut the ribbon, and there was no de Blasio.
Get out.
Because the subway MTA's that was Cuomo's project. The whole thing is like every single political success that him or his father or the Cuomo dynasty has had in New York City is like enshrined in this new subway station. Anyway, though, that's an entire separate thing. We will definitely over the course of this campaign get into the trains in New York City and the mayorship and how they control.
That's one where it's going to be a little bit of learning experience. 2 super chats really fast though. Is Adam Duffy? Thank you for the super chat. Saying angry Yang, which is pretty funny.
That was some Yangry stuff right there.
That was some Yangry stuff, yeah. And then Timothy Pitt says, "What better way to prove you're from New York than say that to my face?"
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it seemed focus group by New Yorkers, man.
I don't know. I think that's just he was getting upset. People kept saying, "Hey, you actually from New York? You actually from?"
That
New
is
York?
literally
Where
the
he's
most
like,
pissed I've ever seen.
Come here and tell me I'm not from New York City. I dare you. Is basically what he said, right? Which I liked, but also because. As we get forward, we're going to get a lot more in the weeds of other stuff. I don't want to overlook this yet. This was really interesting to me. I noticed immediately watching that ad, this did not look like the stuff he was putting out when he was running for president. I think someone else mentioned earlier, I forgot who, sorry, that clearly he got the message to have more Evelyn in his ads. Let me see. Here we go. Actually, Ann Towner, $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Said, I remember during the presidential election, you two said he should have Evelyn in more ads. Look like you took your advice. Yeah, definitely. Him and Evelyn definitely a big part of the ad, which I just think if you're running for politics, it's always good to lean in on the family angle because I just feel like if you have like a family and kids and property, I don't know. It just feels more like you're like, what's the word? Like, for better or for worse, you're committed to this. Like, you can't just get up and leave as easily as other people. But anyway, that aside, this is weird to me, especially with such little fanfare and the fact that I had to kind of like look this up to even confirm this is what was happening. But, yeah, Darren Aronofsky, the Academy Award nominated director. I think he was nominated for Requiem for a Dream, but he did a bunch of other movies that are like pretty popular. And recently he did that movie Mother, I think it was, with Jennifer Lawrence.
I was going to say, he's weird in what is generally a good way, but sometimes can miss the mark.
But how about this?
Yeah.
I think for example, when I brought up that he directed Requiem for a Dream, they're the kind of films that you wouldn't think would lend to political advertising. Like they're the kind of films that remember the kind of stuff you're not going to be putting on G-rated TV for all audiences.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. I think they mentioned here in this article that not every NYC mayoral candidate can say their campaign video was directed by an acclaimed director with the penchant for scarves, but Andrew Yang can. On Wednesday, former candidate and math enthusiast Andrew Yang formally entered the race with a video directed by Darren Aronofsky. Wearing a mask was for New York. Yang walks through the streets of New York talking about his NYC roots, and they kind of just described the video here. And then here, this is a little bit of a hint. He is also talking about we'll talk about the TikTok hype houses. Don't worry. We'll talk about that as well. Black Swan was a movie I was forgetting about. But just really weird, really interesting. The kind of thing that you would think you might just shamelessly hype up more. I don't know. Why not? You got a, acclaimed director to direct your first political ad, your first campaign ad. You might as well bring it up, but kind of went under the radar. I just wanted to bring that up. And it's also kind of funny when you go back and look at the video. I know that someone shouted out the cinematographer of the ad. It was someone else as well. But when you go back and just get the look at the video, there's some scenes you could tell weren't shot by just your regular commercial director. You know what I mean? Like, there was some more artistry to it. But yeah,
it wasn't boilerplate.
Yeah. And just because this is the kind of thing that, seriously, as this campaign moves on, no one's really going to talk about this much anymore and move on. So I just want to take a minute to kind of think about how interesting and weird that is before we go too far into it.
Yeah. So, by the way, is Forward New York a new slogan?
Yeah. Well, I think it's Humanity Forward.
Yeah.
When they do work in New York. But anyway, that led to...
Well, see, the only reason I ask you that is because I'm really curious to see what from his presidential campaign ends up bleeding over into the mayoral campaign. Like, is he going to bust out the classic, it's not left, it's not right, but it's forward? I think that still holds up. You know what I'm saying? Although I don't know how much his claim to UBI is going to be able to hold up, because as we're going to discover later, I guess he's just forgotten the universal part of universal basic income and has basically opted for a Nancy Pelosi means-tested garbage heap.
Well, no, it's almost like he's just renaming something that I'm almost positive already exists in New York City. He's just renaming it, which I don't like. But again, it's kind of hard to be the mayor of New York City and then just have UBI, because you have to find a lot of money. And it's one thing when you're the federal government and you could just go to the Fed and the Fed just gives you the money. The Fed just goes to their magic computer box and adds numbers. That's a different discussion, right? When you're the mayor of a city, you really can't do that much. I just don't like how he's trying to keeps like you can advocate for universal basic income, but saying that few minutes, I want to talk about this first.
Okay, hit it.
The first platform we're going to go from Yang's new website. By the way, he rebranded everything as kind of like this lighter blue with a white typeface. I don't love it, but I think the green is weird intermixed in it. Anyway, though, I love this. In an interview today, he spoke against free speech. I think he talked about the Breakfast Club interview, and he did. That's what I mean. There's so many things I want to touch on with Yang right now about this campaign that are interesting. He brought up one of the most awful ideas I've heard in a while, and I hope it's just something he thought up on a podcast and not an actual idea he's going to go forward with. He said he wants to build a consortium of media companies and NGOs and third parties and watchdogs to basically work to decide what content should or shouldn't be allowed on the internet.
Ooh.
Which sounds like the Ministry of Truth, more or less.
Yeah,
doesn't sound like a good thing.
I can almost guarantee you I wholeheartedly reject this idea, but at the same time,
it was also just literally offhanded. They said, "What do you think about Trump being banned?" He's like, "Well, I'm fine with Trump being banned, but I don't."
What? He said he was fine with that?
It started off though from a thread I didn't really dislike that much. He also said that what I kind of agreed with. He said that
he used to be all like, "This is a sign of third world countries."
Well. That's a different story. But the bigger thing was he also that...
he's morphing into just another neo-lib, dude.
Well, I mean, he is running for mayor of New York City. You know what I mean? But
it's disappointing to watch.
He was talking about what I thought was interesting is that there needs to be more interest from the government and higher scrutiny from the government on how these tech companies decide who they will ban and why. There needs to be a high level of interest. He said they need to actually get in the weeds of what's going on in these companies when they ban people.
Yeah,
which I agree with. No, I don't think it's so they could further meddle. I think it's just to make sure that no shenanigans and no funny business. And if it is, honestly, here's the thing, right? If Twitter wants to be a platform that will just maliciously target some random subgroup, let's just say for whatever reason, Jimmy John's pays a bunch of money to Twitter to advertise, so Twitter just kind of purges pro Subway content off their platform, right? If that's transparent and that's just and that you're fine as a user being on a platform that's gonna just select certain content to have removed for beneficial reasons for themselves, I think it's fine. We should they should be allowed to do that, and we should just be allowed to know they're doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've actually thought long and hard about this, that the internet was unregulated for so long, first off, because the people that run our country are a bunch of stupid idiot boomers. and they're of a pre-internet generation that never used it, was super late to adopt it, and when they did, they basically did it begrudgingly and had their young interns interface with it. Okay, so it enjoyed 20 years of growth, virtually unencumbered as the Wild Wild West. The only problem is that the Wild Wild West, though I prefer things maintain their wildness and accept the negative that comes with the positive, there is no doubt that real life evils are propagated.
I forgot that I actually clipped just the second part. So we're talking about Breakfast Club. This is just the second part of his answer on the Breakfast Club. He says, yeah, banning Trump's a good thing. And then this is the second part of his answer. So we can just play it in full and then go through there.
Okay.
To your bigger point, should we have a different process in terms of deciding who gets their account canceled and for what? Yes. And to say that the tech companies are going to get everything right, some of the tech companies are even raising their hands being like, hey guys, I'm not sure that you want us to decide all of this stuff. So maybe we should get together and figure out like, a different way to decide these things. But our legislators in DC, instead of being like, oh yeah, we should come together and like, develop a consortium that's with tech, government, media, nonprofits, some like watchdog groups, and like develop a consortium of standards. Instead, our politicians are just grandstanding, making some like 60-second speeches, and then everyone goes home and goes on with their lives. Like our government needs to get much more in the weeds in terms of how these companies are making decisions. And some of the companies are even down because they're looking at this being like, look, like, of course we're going to have trouble drawing these lines.
Yeah, well, and we already tried this whole consortium thing. Like, we developed a system. Do you remember? I don't know if you know this, but not the ADL? Who was the group that was declaring the hate groups?
Well, ADL, there's the Anti-Defamation League, there's the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Southern Poverty Law Center. So I know it was the SPLCC. Yeah. So anyway, but the Southern Poverty Law Center had their list of hate tracking groups, and that was basically how they fundraised. But if they ever, if hate actually toned down because we became a more tolerant society, like basically the internet and millennials were, then they stopped making money. So they just started calling anything hate, and then desperately and cynically misinterpreting benign statements as hate.
What do you mean,
and then fundraising off it. The Southern Poverty Law?
I understand that this things go on in the world. My point is, what are you getting at?
I'm making a point. Is between 1996 and I'd say about 2016, 2017, we saw what happens when you give censorship power to a consortium. And the NAACP, the SPLC, and the ADL were basically that consortium. And almost all of them got, at best, soft corrupted, at worst, fully corrupted.
Well, no, but he's talking
and started censoring people that did not deserve it. So when Andrew Yang says, I'm making my point here.
But I'm saying, but you're making your point, but like he very specifically, he said they would be in concert with other things, and that would be unprecedented.
Oh, how would that be unprecedented? Because right now the Democrat Party is literally in concert with big tech in order to censor conservatives. Come on, let's get real. Let's get real.
You might not know this, Cardin.
The censorship train goes one way.
I know you might want to sit. I'm glad you're sitting down. It's better way for putting this. The world doesn't revolve around Republicans and Democrats bitch slapping each other every day all the time.
No, I know, and that's not what I'm saying.
Sometimes big tech works with the government to silence voices that the government just finds not useful to them at the time. Doesn't matter if they're conservative. Doesn't matter if they're literal.
Which is a violation of their rights.
Literal communists are getting banned for the same reasons. They don't care. They don't care what you're registered to. It's not about this stupid made-up blue versus red game.
Okay, yeah,
you're proving no.
See, you always misinterpret this as partisanship. I'm saying I'm giving you a real-world example, and all you're doing is proving me right, because it's already hard enough to have censorship from private big tech, and hard enough to deal with censorship from the government. When they gang up on you,
I understand that.
It's impossible.
I was not looking to have another moan of, it's not fair, these big tech companies. Like, let me tell you something. It's not fair. These big tech companies literally could just decide.
So then why would you want to create a consortium of big tech companies?
I told you, I don't like that either, but it's also not
so then why are we arguing?
Because you arguing with me about nothing. I don't like it either, but I don't think he's doing it.
No, you accused me of hyper-partisanship when I said, in reality, all I was doing was giving you a freaking example.
Okay.
Anyway.
I want to do a couple things. I want
We
to
have
get
a couple
to.
of super chats.
I want to wrap up a few things with the Yang campaign again. Bring it back
Okay.
to the topic. First of all, this is just. I know it feels like it's kind of like we're going to Denmark on this one, but going back to the Yang campaign, as far as positive things for Andrew Yang, it does appear, I believe Richie Torres, who recently, I think he's incoming congressman, or before that, anyway, though, definitely a rising star in the local political scene in New York City. It appears he was a very sought after endorsement. I think he's like campaign finance chair. Like, he has an important position in the Andrew Yang mayoral campaign. That was a good get for Andrew Yang. And then also Assemblymember Ron Kim. Both those guys are in the ad with him. It's just, those were a couple good gets as far as local political insider stuff. I wanted to make sure I tapped on that before I forget. And then the other thing I wanted to make sure I tapped on before I forget about the kind of, because I want to get some other off-topic stuff as well that I want to get into, is this was classic Yang as far as, this is the first policy we'll go through today.
Okay, hit it.
But this I thought was classic Yang right here. Sorry. I want to go through this with you. Andrew Yang's culture, society, and nightlife. This is part of his COVID recovery and under the economy, under the policies for his platform, right? So let's go through some of these bullet points. I'm going to skip over the narrative part. New York City is the greatest city ever, dreamed up ever, and oh my God, it needs to get back on its feet. I'm sure you get the gist of it. So he wants to invest in the technology needed to make people feel safe at events. So reopening our indoor spaces, our restaurants and bars, our concert halls and theaters, our sports arenas, our nightclubs, etc., will require getting New York's vaccinated, but it also requires being able to know who has received a vaccine. While this will contribute to public safety at larger events and indoor spaces, it will also make people feel confident and decide to live their lives again. There are numerous technological solutions to track who has and who hasn't received a vaccination, and for individuals to show their vaccination status. A Yang admin would prioritize implementing a safe and secure standard ASAP so that individuals can feel safe going out and enjoying city life again.
This is literally a sacrifice your freedoms for security argument.
I want to show you something, though, before you go off. I want to show you something. I honestly didn't have this queued up all the way. I didn't even put two and two together. This is something I had seen. I follow all the Chinese, actual Chinese outlets for media. Because they honestly just kind of post interesting things, even though it's propaganda. But that was fascinating. This was literally posted earlier today from China Daily, which is just like Twitter calls it China State affiliated media. But check this out. They mentioned right here that a new way to greet your neighbor while also assuring them you're safe. Show your green health code. This is literally what Andrew Yang was talking about, like barcodes on your phone to show that you have a. I just thought it was funny. I didn't even think about that until as I was reading it. I'm like, wait a minute, that China Daily video I saw earlier today was literally that. It was literally people who have phone things that say they have their vaccine.
But look, they're taught by the state to be absolutely mortified of each other. Look at that. Look at the body language of that. Go back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning. Of
okay,
it's a 9-second clip. You could do that. For
I know,
me.
but you're going to go frame by frame to show the horrors of the.
No. Why do you always assume the absolute worst of me? That guy is huddled in a corner like a scared mouse.
What do you mean? Oh, why? I wonder why I would have assumed literally what you're about to say.
I mean, that is the epitome of un-America, suggesting something China does to its communist serfs.
Hey, look, I agree. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying this.
Okay.
I could vetch and moan as well. It's just, I didn't even think about it at the time, but this is literally more or less what he's recommending. Hopefully, this doesn't go through. It's one of the things. Dude, let me tell you something. For better or for worse, 99% of the words on all of his policy pages on this website are going to be just meaningless. They're for the birds. They're for us to read and talk about. They don't matter. Because let me tell you, there'll be the day. I'm assuming he'll win. And when he wins, there'll be the day he takes over office, and there's about a book, I'm assuming the size of a human being they bring in. And like, these are all the problems you have to catch up on. Like, it's not like you get to just come in. It's not like they're building a brand new city. You know, like, you have a lot of stuff to go through. But check out some of this other funny stuff in here. He wants to host the biggest post-COVID celebration in the world. New Yorkers tired of staying in. We've missed experiencing cultural life with one another, and there is nowhere more social and fun than New York. That's why once the state of emergency is officially over and our health experts tell us again it's safe to congregate, a Yang admin would host outdoor celebrations in each borough to celebrate the end of the deadly pandemic and look toward a brighter future. They mentioned the basically women's national team victory, but yeah, like famously, I guess I'll pull up. Okay, I see your face, Cardin, but you were...
That does not mortify you.
No, you were...
Setting a precedent in the most second most populous city in the United States of America, in which you have to be tracked according to whether or not you have taken
Well, now you're
an
adding-
involuntary
now you're adding stuff,
involuntary vaccine. And there's no mention
Now you're adding
of,
stuff.
religious exemptions, conscientious objector
talking
exemptions,
about?
medical exemptions.
But he's talking about this. Having big COVID parades to celebrate that you can live life
Yeah,
again.
you couldn't go to the COVID parade unless you had his freaking barcode stamped on your
Well,
side.
I don't think that would get through. I think a lot of these policies are for the birds.
Oh, you
Here's
don't
the-
think it would get through? It doesn't mortify you that a guy who
I
was
don't
a
like
huge
it.
civil rights
I
dude
don't like it.
has all of a sudden turned into a neolib who wants to stamp
hold on.
us all with a vaccine code?
His campaign advisor is Martin Luther King Jr. It's not Martin. He was technically Martin Luther King Jr. the second, which doesn't make any sense. He's Martin Luther King the third.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, again, for civil rights stuff like that, I do hope having people like that in his ear to be the person where it's like, because what about this, dude? What if there is? Because the other thing I think that's a big issue with that you have to keep in mind as well, especially for big parades like this where everyone comes together to celebrate, right? Is keep in mind, what if on any level, economic status, like being wealthier helps you get vaccinated faster, right? Like creating any kind of disparity where people that can afford to cut lines to get vaccinated have privileges that other people don't have is not something you want to start walking into. You know what I mean? You don't want to start creating systems where it's like, oh, we threw this great big parade, but if you weren't, able to kind of financially finagle your way into getting a vaccine early, you can't come. You know what I mean? Like that is definitely not where he wants to be. I agree. On top of just the weird kind of tracking, I don't like it either. But that's why I'm keep an eye on it, right? But I don't think that's going to go off.
Confiscation of rights always starts with the registration of
but
rights.
it's why I hope the people in his ear that are a little bit more understand a little bit more, like the civil rights angle of this stuff. I'd be like, you do not want to start walking into something like this because there's like I said, there's the tracking, the registration, but even just the fact that like, what if that does happen where it's like certain neighborhoods it's easier for them to vaccinate over others, like they get to do stuff and you can't. Remember, de Blasio with the Jews earlier this year? I don't think Yang would target the Jews. I'm not saying that. But it's just, it leads you into some very scary, shaky circumstances. It's why I don't think that's something I really see happening as like a legit, like something that actually gets momentum to keep going. Because, dude, apparently New York City can't even handle the vaccinations anyway. No one's, that's what I mean. Like, it isn't like
Which makes it
everyone's
even
getting
more
vaccines
frightening if
smoothly.
they're in charge of contact tracing.
That's why
Their incompetence. And here's the other thing. Let's clarify some things. They say, I don't really see what the big idea is of just letting people know you're vaccinated with proof. You know what? Just letting people know that you're vaccinated as a way of kind of, just calming tensions in a nervous time. You're right. I don't think there is anything wrong with that. Requiring it before you can participate in society.
They have to assure,
is absolutely un-American.
They would have to assure before that point, which is what I was saying. You have to make sure that literally everybody can freely because here's the thing, if vaccination status is required to participate in society and there isn't free and equal access to vaccinations, you are just oppressing people. You know what I mean? Like, it is literally just oppression. Just, you are not able to get vaccinated for circumstances outside of your control, and because of that, you are restricted by the state. It's why, instead of hyperventilating about this stuff, I keep an eye on it and assume no way in hell that goes anywhere. A lot of this stuff, dude, I don't...
How come whenever I express disdain for something, you say it's hyperventilating? Not hyperventilating.
Hey, dude, call it whatever you want. How about that?
Ann Towner has
this?
an awesome super chat. We need to get back on super chats.
Like Marvel's super chat from Ann Towner, $2. Like Marvel's superhuman registration.
Dude,
Look,
perfect. Ann Tower.
Oh, hold on. While we're on that,
She just hit a double and ran me home.
I have to go back and do a couple super chats now, which I'm glad
Okay.
to. One, Adam Duffy, $2. Chat, what y'all think of Cody's dope shirt? Oh, thank you. You are too kind, man.
Dude, I knew they'd say something.
I'm going to scroll back up. I'm assuming everyone loves it because everyone loves my shirt. Everyone always loves the shirt, even though it makes you look.
Makes you look wide.
Very wide. It makes you
Yeah.
look. I'm not this wide. I swear. It makes you look absurdly wide. But beyond that, also, we'll come back to this in a second because it's another topic. But Hanksor, $2, said thoughts on Apple and Google removing Parler app. It's Amazon as well, deeper than that. We'll go through that again in a minute because there's some other stuff I want to go on in that. I just want to finish going through this. And again, guys, we're going to go deeper dives, trust me, over the next coming days, a lot more intensely over a lot more of Yang's serious policy platforms.
We got to give them what they want. We got to dive into their answers.
Cardin, I can't even get through a joke policy platform without you going on 5 rants about how it's the end of society.
No, first off, it's not 5. I keep it to 1. And they are very well thought out, educated, and poignant, shall I say.
Well, again, just the last thing I want to wrap in the bud about the vaccine thing. The reason why it's not the best thing ever to force vaccine tracking and make vaccines be mandatory for everything, even though it makes sense, is because of the government cannot promise people that every single person will have access to a vaccine that will not be restricted. They're not going to be stuck in line, that we can get you a vaccine and you're not going to have to, for any BS reasons, wait forever. Then if they can't guarantee that, then imposing restrictions around vaccines is it's just oppression with more steps, right? Where if it's like this community can't get vaccine till April and we're having the parade in March, well, you just don't get to go to the parade then. Like, it's tough, and it's one of the reasons why they need to prioritize vaccine distribution. Here's the thing. It was like, don't worry, everyone get a vaccine. We're going through the vaccines best we can. They'll be done quickly and efficiently. Then it's not really a big deal if everyone's going to get them. But if it isn't that, and it's going to be months and months of just shenanigans and BS, and you have to go on lists, and, oh, they're expiring. When all that's going on, then all of a sudden making this vaccine that you as the government are failing in distribution to people be mandatory for all this stuff in society, it's just the government banning people from all this stuff with more steps. Well, and because they can't distribute it. So distribution is super important there as well. It kind of like... It makes a huge difference.
Well, and that's why I am in so much opposition to all these regulations requiring it. Because think about it, Cody. If you have these, I don't want to say silly, I would actually prefer to use the term dangerous. If you have these silly and dangerous requirements that you can't associate and go down the staircase without showing your green Apple iPhone contact tracing, I'm safe, you can walk past me in the staircase, is that now all of the young kids who want to be able to go to the ticker tape parade are going to find a way to beg, borrow, and steal one of those vaccine doses so they can go see Justin Bieber. When in reality, we need to be prioritizing the limited resource of the limited amount of doses we have to all of the essential workers and all of the frontline doctors that want it and need it and would be best served by it. All the old people that we can keep from dying by having it.
By
passing laws like Andrew Yang's suggesting here. He's completely, through central planning, ruining a society.
Okay, but that is why you brought up a bunch of reasons why it makes no sense to actually do it. It's why it probably won't happen. And again, it's not worth hyperventilating over.
Okay, first off, I'm not hyperventilating. I am actually very, very well. It's not hydrated. What's it called when you're using efficient amounts of oxygen?
I just thought it'd be fun to go through what Andrew Yang wants to see the entertainment recovery in New York City look like.
Yeah, let's go back to talk about the fun party.
Before we get into hard
politics
and hard policy.
Making people wear a yellow star on their shoulder. Let's go back to that.
I'm actually like multiple steps past that, and you just can't get over it. You aren't. I'm past it.
Well, look, I'm already past it onto the super chat. Sly Cactus. I think we should remember that Yang likes to throw out ideas. Not all are going to stick, but that's not his goal. The goal is for us to refine them or judge them, not him for throwing them out. Fine.
That's what I've been saying.
Okay, the party, good idea. The contact tracing, bad idea.
That's what I mean. Like, there's like legitimate reasons why. Like, exactly. Imagine the civil rights crisis with the current rate that the vaccines are going out at, the difficulties they're having distributing them, just being like, you don't get to go to publicly held events because we can't get you the vaccine. Or send your kids
to school.
Exactly, because we can't get you the vaccine. It's because the state can't get it.
Yeah, they're doing that in our school district.
It's not good, and it's one of the reasons why if Andrew knows it's good with them, he'll probably try to avoid that. But anyway, how about this? To make to-go cocktails a permanent fixture, during the pandemic, Governor Cuomo issued an executive order relaxing the state's restrictions on carry out or delivered alcohol. This was a lifeline for struggling establishments, many of whom rely on alcohol sales for their revenue. It's also widely appreciated by New Yorkers who found the initiative to be fun during an otherwise very rough period. We should continue this policy by working with leaders in Albany to permanently ease restrictions. We don't need to make NYC the next Bourbon Street to make NYC living more fun. Our administration will continue to just... The reason I wanted to highlight some of the weirdest stuff in this one. It's
kind of like getting rid of the penny when he was running for the...
And we're going to go a bit quicker now. More drive outdoor performances with the Parks Department, more stuff that would be cruel to gate by vaccines if you cannot give people vaccines, dedicate City Hall to enhancing NYC's nightlife and culture, a lot of this stuff, advocate for the legalization of marijuana, and this is the funny one. Not the funny one, but what I want to talk about. Bring NYC to the forefront of new cultural touchstones. New York City is home to some of the most famed and celebrated cultural institutions, but we cannot forget about our local artists who create artwork through all mediums right here in New York. That is why our administration will partner with larger institutions to help subsidize rent for resident artists in buildings. These up-and-coming creators deserve a place to cultivate their craft, and the city has a role to play in supporting their dreams. Similarly, our admin would work also to attract new content creators, such as TikTok hype houses, where young artists collaborate. We need to help create some more
I don't like this anymore. I do not consider TikTok hype houses right up there with having an artist cultivated to be so good that he could do the Rembrandt seascape. I'm sorry. Like, I do not put... he could have chosen... Like, this is where I'm not totally conservative or libertarian on this, and I actually think that people go wrong. I think that government has a role to play in the cultivation of art in a society, because some forms of art are expensive and large and thus require a budget beyond that of an individual artist sitting in front of an individual canvas. So I think government does have a role. The only problem is that when government does get involved, oftentimes the interpretation of art, both in general and what's going to make it to get this grant, gets heavily politicized, and only one voice is allowed. So he would have to show me. I will sign off on pretty much any arts endowment out there. All right. This is my 90s liberal. All right. Talking. I'm totally down with the arts. And in fact, when polled, the American people are. Most parents actually consider a musical education in conjunction with traditional reading, writing, and arithmetic, the quote capstone of their children's general education. So I'm all about freaking school bands, Monart, as it was called in California, all of those programs. But you have to show me how it's not going to get dominated by a bunch of psycho lib cat ladies.
It will. Like, it just will. So.
Well, he was not calling for a consortium of,
psycho lib cat ladies. I don't agree with that. But I mean, is that like the people that currently make up education and decide the kind of more like direction, discretionary angles that they go in will be the same, dude. If you don't like them, they're still going to be there. So I'm sorry. If you disagree with the direction they take it in, just saying, well, you have to do this too, they'll just take it in the direction you disagree with. Because that's just the reality.
You got to bake it into the legislation, bro. It's just like freedom of speech was baked into the Constitution, and it's what kept us going,
the letter
baby.
of the law and the spirit, right?
Yeah, and I got to tell you,
they will use the letter.
Baking that first amendment into the Bill of Rights has made it so we lasted 250 years. So I would want to see into Andrew Yang's. I would want to see into Andrew Yang's endowment baked in. What?
Did we have the First Amendment during the Civil War, the Great War?
Yeah, we had them all during all those times.
I mean, honestly, I would say it wasn't the First Amendment. It was America, so we were, always a bit more lenient in speech. But, dude, no. Abraham Lincoln shut down newspapers. I don't think in World War II you could just say whatever the hell you wanted, okay? Like, no. There's been precedent in this country forever that when the state decides, that talk's actually, like, not so okay, they just remove it. Remember during the height of the Cold War, could you just be a communist out of the Cold War? Could you just be one?
Yeah, they were all over. They just forced you to register. Oh, snap. Which might have been what? Un-American.
That's exactly my point.
So what do we learn from these bad precedents instead of repeating them?
What I'm saying is that's I don't know. Anyway, though.
You're too cynical, Cody. You literally think we are bound to repeat it. We're not bound to repeat it.
Before we move off from this,
if we
I
choose
do
to
want to
learn
highlight Andrew Yang does have a lot more serious, real policies on his platform.
I want to read an affordable city. What does he say about an affordable city? We're
going to go through it later because I want to do more deeper on this stuff. There's some real stuff in here. So I wanted to just touch on. We're off the rails, but
yeah.
There's one last thing I want to touch on. Someone brought it up way earlier in chat. Don't even remember who. I'm sorry, but I think it's interesting, right?
Okay.
They mentioned that by age, it feels like the age group of people that are just putting fake news BS out there more than anyone are like boomers and old people.
Yeah.
This was a poll they did, and they asked people what they thought about QAnon. Are you favorable or unfavorable to QAnon?
Basically said you have any opinion, no opinion, some
it's
opinion.
a little bit hard to see, but the group with the lowest percentage of never heard of was baby boomers. The group with the highest percentage of never heard of QAnon was Gen Zers. And literally, more baby boomers had an opinion on QAnon than millennials, Gen Z, Gen X. And it is weird. It is. And honestly, I think it.
So boomers follow QAnon more than anybody else.
I think I understand it because why? Younger people.
Well, during the lockdowns, all of a sudden they discovered all of this time to watch YouTube videos.
Younger people understand all the BS on the internet, and they hear about some weird conspiracy theory thing, and they just kind of like, oh, it's another one of those conspiracies. Yeah, it's all BS. Everyone lies on the internet.
Yeah.
But like boomers are like, they go on social media and like they read these things and it shocks them. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Because they don't understand. They're like, oh no, it's all fake. It's all lies. Like everyone just goes on the internet and BS's you. It's not real. So they share it with all their friends. They talk about it all the time, you know? Or I guarantee you some of the people that have said they've never heard of QAnon probably saw it. Someone mentioned Q weird pedophile stuff to them before, and they probably just tuned it out. It was like, oh yeah, it's all just weird fake BS. But boomers, man, they hear that and they're like, are you kidding me? Can you believe there's like, dude, I remember during the summer, there was a conspiracy that there was mole children underneath Central Park in New York City, and they had put up a bunch of FEMA tents so they can get the mold. It was just like insanity, man. But again, younger people are gonna read that stuff and just realize, like, oh, that's just typical internet BS, you know, memeing stuff.
Oh yeah, I gotta look
like
up
the
this
boomers
New York City
read that and
mole
they're like,
children.
it like wrecks their brains. It's like, no way, I can't believe that's real. We gotta do something. How is no one doing something about this? By the way, it's one of my favorite. I don't know if you call it a trope. How is there nobody out there doing something about this? Like, I don't know. Maybe you're misinterpreting what's going on. Maybe if you were interpreting it correctly, people would be out there doing stuff about it.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I just thought that was a very interesting thing to see in this poll that, like, yeah, like it's really the older people out there that are really concerned and talking about QAnon stuff on the internet, which it always kind of felt like, you know, anecdotally without any proof. And it's interesting getting a poll where they're actually like, I mean, like, according to this poll, no. Like, it almost is like a direct scale. The younger you are, the less likely you are to know about QAnon. Like, just straight up, the older you are, the more you know about QAnon. So, like,
which is so interesting because I remember you said that at the very beginning. I remember you talking with Brittany the Shadow about some of these, and you expressed frustration that you feel like these are all just 2-year-old conspiracy theories that all of the boomers have finally caught up with as they're spending more time online because they're home during the quarantine.
Yeah. You know, I've told this story before, but anyway, I remember when I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade, right? Second or third grade, little kid in elementary school. They took us into the computer lab to go on the internet for like the first time, right? I had sort of been on the internet a little bit at home. I knew a little about the internet, not a lot, but a little. Anyways, everyone's in the computer lab. We're on the computers. They're telling us to go to Google. And it was actually the first time I ever heard about Google. And anyways, all of a sudden, one of the kids in my class jumps up and he goes, "Oh my God, everybody! I just won a trip to Hawaii."
Okay.
And everyone started laughing at him because they're like, "Oh no, it's a pop-up. You didn't actually win a trip to Hawaii." That's what it's kind of like, I feel like, right? Where like younger people that are used to crazy unhinged lunacy in the internet, they see some of these weird theories and they kind of go like, "Ah, yeah, but no, they're not real though." And the boomers, they're like, "Oh my, I just want a trip to Hawaii. I can't believe this." You know, like they don't understand that. They think they're on some like, you know, James Bond next level secret society conspiracy stuff. And in reality, it's like, no, you're just on some BS.
Yeah.
I just thought that was an interesting topic right there.
So what else did you glean from this graph?
I mean, there's not a whole lot more else because a lot of it's just kind of like, are you favorable? Do you support or not support QAnon? Big surprise. Most people don't have favorable views of QAnon. That wasn't really too interesting. The thing that jumped out to me about that poll, and this was even this is the thing that jumped out the most, which is the fact that when you go to the never heard of category, it literally is the older you are, the more you have definitely heard of QAnon.
So interesting to me.
And also, despite different sample sizes per age group, the amount of there's this very constant about 14% of people where it's like, if you've heard of QAnon, you probably have an opinion. There's like 1 in 10 people who've like heard of QAnon and have no opinion, but most people who've heard of QAnon had an opinion, which I would imagine. I would imagine it'd be hard to kind of be like, QAnon, whatever.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand what you're saying. It's this whole QAnon thing is so interesting. People ask me all the time, like, "Oh, dude, so are you into QAnon?" Or else they say like, "Oh, you hate QAnon, right?" And what I've really said is, you know what? When I served my mission in Argentina, I'll never forget. I was walking down the street. With my comp. It's your companion, but you call him your comp. And as I was walking down the street, I remember seeing this bit of graffiti on the wall that said, "Los locos tenemos una virtud, la locura," which means we, the crazy people, have a virtue, our craziness. And I remember thinking about that and thinking, you know what? That in and of itself is an inalienable virtue of the fringe, the crazies, the so on and so forth. And whether we like it or not, all of the fringe Q people and conspiracy theorists and everything talking about Jeffrey Epstein's island with the weird temple.
Here's the thing, though, Card.
They nailed it 2 years before he actually gets judged.
Card.
So I don't judge these people. They come up with some weird crap.
That is not what they're talking about anymore at all.
I know it's not
QAnon
anymore.
Is so far moved off of Jeffrey Epstein.
Let me finish.
I'm just saying.
All I'm saying is that
it's on the level way different.
I get that it's gotten freaking crazy now, and they're saying like 5G towers are run by lizard people who want to follow secret microchips in our skin or whatever.
It's gotten beyond that even. It's not.
Okay, fine, whatever. I haven't been paying attention, to be honest with you, but
there we go. Thank you for admitting finally that you're just talking about something you didn't really pay attention to.
No, dude, dog. Oh my gosh. Pardon me if I haven't looked into it in 2 weeks. Okay, but all I'm saying is that I do not disparage so much my fellow Americans that I will call them deplorables. I think that's a bad move. And these are human beings that we're talking about here that have concerns that have developed into conspiracy. And I would actually rather learn what is the symptom of them believing conspiracy. And I'll tell you right now, I think mass censorship has led to a belief in conspiracy because people know they can be censored and shadow banned so easily when they think, ooh, here's the true story of X, Y, or Z thing that the media doesn't want you to know. That carries more and more water as what? The media clamps down more. Just like Princess Leia said to Darth Vader, the harder you squeeze, the more it goes through your fingers. Censorship creates conspiracy theory because it breeds a mental environment in which people believe they are being censored and the truth is being hidden.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like at the same time, we're also talking about like
there are some crazy people in this world.
but I don't know. I would just say ultimately though, right? Like the big thing is, I don't know. A lot of people everyone hates this fact. I believe it's a fact of life, right? Hatred kills you. Hatred eats away at you, right? You can hate somebody, they don't even know, but it'll eat away at you every single day. So I just, don't hate people.
Hatred eats away at you.
Yeah, when you it's like hating a dog and it's just standing there wagging its tail looking at you and you being upset. Like who's losing here? The dog standing there wagging its tail looking at you, or the person who's like, I'm so mad. I don't know. I just feel like when there's these crazy QAnon people, it's like that doesn't mean you let them do whatever the hell they want and you just let them get away with crimes, but try not to hold hatred for them in their heart because in the long run, you lose. They don't.
I don't hate these people.
I didn't say you did. I just mean for anything when it comes to that. Isn't that what your boy Jesus talks about?
My boy Jesus.
Talks about like not holding hatred and stuff. I firmly believe that's a real thing. I mean, like, especially hating people that don't even know you exist.
He says, pray for those that spitefully scorn you.
I think about that. People are just going about their day shopping, right? They're just shopping. They're putting the milk in their cart. And there's someone out there, there's all kinds of people like this, and there's someone out there literally lowering the quality of their life and their day, having a more miserable time with their day, being upset about someone. And that person, they're just putting eggs in their cart. I'm like, whatever, man, I'm just living my life. I don't even know about this person. It's just so silly to me. It's one thing the internet and social media has like driven so much. It's just so silly to me. Like to think, I mean, think of like some of these like hot button, like even like you think of some of these like just like literal like IRL shit posters, more or less. The Milo Yiannopoulos, even him, if he's just out living his best life and you're sitting around pissed off, you're losing. And then you go to the bigger. It's, you know.
Hey, bro.
What is it? I hate the sinner. What is it? Love the sinner.
No.
Hate the sin.
Yeah, you gotta hate the sin.
Hate the sin.
Not the sinner.
It's not. There we go. I'm just
You know what
saying
I'm
that,
saying?
dude. I don't know.
You have to beat the sin.
I firmly believe that.
While simultaneously beating the sin. No, I'm just kidding. Now, Sly Cactus brings up. I got a little pun for you really fast. This one was good. Don't look at it. I got a question for you, Cody.
Mm-hmm.
How does the FCC get across the water? Give yourself solid 10 seconds.
I don't even understand what that means.
How does the FCC get across water?
I don't know.
They use censorships. That was next level dad joke. You will openly laugh. See, right now you just kind of smiled in kind of like a reluctant kind of way. Mm-hmm. But once you have kids, something happens to your DNA where puns are just all of a sudden magnified in their efficacy and humor.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not a Christian. I wasn't making a Christian argument. I just think like if Christians talk about it, so be it. I think it's one of the things a lot of people and like just being that are like online politics people. It's one of the easiest ways to just start off losing is to be like deeply hateful about random people who don't even know you exist, man. It's just bad for you. You lose. They don't even know you exist. You're the quality of your life goes down, and the quality of their life nothing happens to. It's just so ridiculous to me.
Cody, I should just clip this
time.
and bring it to church with me on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Like you could be just my lesson for Sunday school right there, dude. Just clip it and be like, this is why you shouldn't hate people. That'd be actually kind of funny. Anyway, the chat is apologizing for Sly Cactus's pun.
It's not.
I think that was easily
honestly,
top 3. That was easily top 3.
The setup needs to be a little bit clearer. The setup's a little bit. It feels like that joke was made in reverse. The setup has to be a little more clear. FCC on water. What does that even mean? You know what I mean? If you can tighten that up a bit, where it kind of makes sense intuitively why the FCC. You know, if you said, "Hey, how does the FCC get from America to England on a censorship?" Okay, but just like how do they cross water? I don't know what that means. That's just my personal take on it.
Hey, so what's this tweet that you pulled up about the Abraham Lincoln bust exiting the White House at 2:09 p.m.?
I didn't pull this up.
Oh,
if you have been seeing breathless tweets all day about items being removed from the White House, I have been informed. Journalists have talked about this. It's a totally normal thing they do all the time. Actually, kind of interesting. I didn't know this. Basically, there's some local museums, right?
I was about to say, is it just on rotation with the local?
Sort of. The way it works is when one president moves out, the museums come and take all the stuff back, right? And then during the transition, they've
got like 8 hours to put the new stuff.
Not even that. The incoming president, but they get like catalogs.
Yeah,
and they go through and like pick like, oh, I want that bust, I want that painting.
Oh, that's so cool.
And they move them in. So yeah, this is them moving out.
So I knew that it was a 4-hour transition. The president has to be out by 8 a.m. and usually traditionally leaves a note in the desk for the incoming president, in the Resolute desk. Obama left it for Trump. Hopefully, let's see Trump do the classy thing and leave it for Biden. And then literally, I've had people that have worked for the Secret Service say that they think it's one of the most impressive things they've seen while serving. How there's this specific department whose sole job it is to interview the incoming first lady and president as to how they want the decor of the White House to be, how they want to be able to receive things, what they want, and then they have to build it. And like, if they need to use quick dry cement that will dry in like 4 hours to put like a lighting pole for freaking George Bush's baseball field he's gonna stick behind the White House or something, that they just expedite it. They get all the people and everything that it will take. And they're literally like, okay, you are here an hour early for whatever your job is. They know what everybody's job is. And then boom, they just move in at 8 and they've got 4 hours and they completely change it. They have painted entire rooms in the White House.
I'm sure.
In 4 hours. Like, that is impressive, dog.
Well, they should.
Like, that's really cool if you ask me, man. And recently, do you want to know what was found by that transition team? They actually were able to somehow, I can't remember how it was, but they were able to find photos of what the White House looked like before a bad fire and restore the original, like, cartouches are Egyptian, but the original, like, French neoclassical wallwood. It was super intriguing. I learned about it when I went to go see my great aunt's Clara Barton's artifacts that were discovered in Washington, D.C. as well. I mean, that is one of the things that makes me love America. When I hear about groups like this and super classy departments like that. You know what I'm saying?
And
that seems awesome.
Last thing before I wrap up for tonight. This is the official hoodie for the
Dang,
Biden.
that actually looks pretty cool.
Biden inauguration. Yeah,
but why does he have an American flag on there? Isn't that a sign of racism and white supremacy?
No, remember, it's the most sacred sign of our democracy. But anyway,
he can't be saying that.
How about
man.
this? Well, that's all.
He'll get kicked out of the club.
Not anymore. That was a couple weeks ago. This week, it's the most sacred.
Oh,
sign
so
of
we're about to like we can go back to liking the flag again.
Yeah, Joe Biden's the president, so now you have to patriotic again.
Oh, okay, cool, interesting.
Yeah, that's how the people.
Interesting.
That's
Remember
what
that.
the back and forth. Like, honestly, if you supported Joe Biden, why would you not support America now as a president? It doesn't make any sense.
Dude, that's
Anyways,
actually a really cool looking hoodie.
but
I'm
hold on.
sorry, I like
I
that.
want to touch on a couple other things too. You see on the sleeves here, that's actually all 50 states.
Oh, that's cool.
And then on the back, I actually don't. I think the back kind of is. where
Ooh,
it
that's
drops
a little
the
bit
ball.
busy. Yeah,
And
that's
tacky. I don't like
that's
time to heal
busy.
font because I actually do like just like the. I think.
I love arm
Not bad,
work
though.
on
Not bad.
jackets. Yeah, if you got rid of the back, and actually just had it blank and then let the arm work do the talking, I think that'd be a sick hoodie. I think that'd be a real sick hoodie. I could never wear Biden Harris on my chest, but if that were like in America, or had that just like the seal
remember,
of the
that is
presidency,
official.
I could do it.
That's official. This is official merch.
Oh, it's official merch
From
okay,
the
cool.
Biden inaugural. Oh, actually, no, it's .org. Actually, I was wrong. I was about to say it comes from a .gov. It does not come from .gov. It comes from .org. So it's not as official.
Okay. Yeah, the
Not
back
like actually goes to the government's.
Yeah, the back's a little bit busy, but
Front's cool, and I like the sleeve. I like the 50 states on the sleeve. It's actually pretty cool.
yeah, I like that as well.
Yeah, that's the last thing I'll do. I'll post the link. Actually, there's one thing that's kind of interesting that I didn't really know about. Here's the donate link to Yang's mayoral campaign if you want to donate. Something I didn't know is kind of interesting. The reason why I'm bringing that up, and I'm going to show you guys. I don't know if they mentioned it on here. Here we go. For local elections, they passed a law for New York. People who live in New York City, I believe,
Yeah.
or state, their donations are matched 8-1.
What?
How's
How's that legal?
They just the government matches donations to everyone.
Really?
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Wait,
Very
the government subsidizes elections?
I believe. Oh, we can look at we can go through the specifics. I might actually do a video on it. That's interesting. But I believe basically for local elections within the city of New York, I believe maybe the state of New York, 100%. I didn't read the code, but basically, yeah, they do help match dollars. I think to just help make sure that it's easier for people to run.
Okay, then I've got one
But
last
it is
question for
actually
you
very
before we end. First off, 2 super chats. Thank you very much for Adam Duffy saying, everyone drop a like and support Andrew's campaign. Couldn't agree more. And then My Melanated Scope says, hey guys, I was organizing our last strike for $15 minimum wage over here with the fight for 15. Thanks, Biden. Came on late, but wanted to show support.
Oh, thank you, man. And Biden actually did, I think, come out today, $15 minimum wage.
Oh, yeah, that is such a bad idea. In order to help young, especially minority kids get their first jobs, you actually need to eliminate the minimum wage. That could be a whole different video.
Well,
It's
how about this quickly, too,
good-hearted
though?
people are fooled into bad economics.
What I like the idea of having, I don't know.
But they're
you
always
can abuse
popular. It always passes.
Yeah.
And Republicans
Well,
and neo-libs pass them
minimum wage
both
for-
the same. Yeah.
minimum wage for full-time work that can't be gained by employers. Because then employers will just be like, you work 36 hours a
Well,
week,
and
you're
here's
not
a perfect
full-time
example.
employee. And it's like, but that's BS. Anyway, hold on.
Here's a
That's
perfect example. You know how they just upped the minimum wage for essential workers as the frontline hero pay here in Los Angeles? Well, guess what? My buddy who was an essential worker at Walmart and counted for that, he just got bumped down to 15 hours a week. Just got bumped down to 15 hours a week because they got to pay. I mean, it's like payroll does not change in these companies. What only changes the amount of hours you can work. You end up harming people and actually reducing their purchasing power and increasing inflation whenever you up the minimum wage. It's a bad idea, but it sells bipartisanly.
But wait, Cardin.
Yeah.
Beyond the moaning.
I'm not moaning. I'm hyperventilating.
You are just moaning. Actually.
No, I was hyperventilating.
But I do think, though, that actually is relevant with the minimum wages with this. I definitely do think I agree there should be openings for certain kinds of jobs that are literally specifically designed to be sub-minimum wage jobs. Like if I want to pay someone basically $45 a week to come and help me for a couple hours, and they're fine with that because it's not like a real job for them. I think that makes it easier to have minimum wages because then it's like if someone's a real legit actual employee, you have to pay them a certain number. That's not that weird actually.
Yeah, but like, look at this way.
But then
in the inner city, for example,
I don't want to have a 45-minute argument on this either. I just said.
So you can say your part, and then as soon as you're done saying your part,
you said your part, and I just said, what about the idea of having minimum wage? And then what you do is to make it so like you can kind of allow companies to have employees that come in and maybe just do jobs that like literally are just something that could only fill up maybe a couple hours a week, and you're hiring someone who knows like this isn't my career. I'm going to come in for 3 hours a week and help for whatever reason. I think having both of those makes more sense. Tell you what, when it comes to employment and workers and payment, I'm pro-choice.
No, when it comes to what's that mean?
I mean, I'm pro-choice.
When it comes to workers and payment,
I believe that you should be able to say, "Hey, would you like to be a full-time employee with benefits and stuff, or would you like to make less than minimum wage, but maybe you aren't like." It's not a full-time job. It's just like you come in and do a couple things, a couple hours a week.
Okay, fine. That might be an interesting compromise. But at the end of the day, I see in places, for example, we have a huge problem with youth violence and youth. What do they call it? It used to be actually contributing to the delinquency. There we are, delinquency of a minor. Do you know how many generations before us didn't have those issues and were able to save up money for their first car, save up money for their college, actually get something that they wanted by going and working for, $5 an hour, sweeping the floors after school for just, from 3 till 7 until their parents picked them up after work at the local grocer or deli or mom and pop shop. So the person is getting effectively babysat, for lack of a better term, while simultaneously contributing.
Okay, but it's not that simple at all.
What do you mean it's not that simple? It is that simple.
No, it isn't.
We would open up more economic opportunities for more people if we didn't regulate it than if we did.
Remember before the stream started and we were going over and you're like, oh, how weird. I didn't know that we got rid of the gold standard in like the early 70s. Or it was late 60s?
No, I thought it was in like the 30s or 40s we got rid of it.
That's my point, Cardin. There's other things that have changed besides minimum wage laws in the last 60 to 70 years that would impact real earnings for people. I agree. Real earnings seem to be going down. Relative earnings seem to be going down. I don't think it has as
part of
much...
the reason why it's going down is because we have centrally planned economy and crony capitalist system that sucks.
Okay. Exactly. And it's one of the reasons why you'll notice...
So how about we stop doing crony capitalist things and central planning, such as the minimum wage? That sucks.
Okay. Do you really think... How about this card? But do you really think it's the minimum wage that's like the really big...
No, I think the minimum wage is a part. We are dying death of a million paper cuts here. And it is one of the paper cuts. Now, unfortunately, it's a bipartisan issue that sells, and it takes a lengthy economic description to actually tell somebody why it hurts more than it helps. And my Melanated Scope said something interesting. He said, LOL, I love how that super chat added to the show. Love you all. Sorry, Cardin, I'm over here fighting for what you're against.
That's the beauty of America, though, is that's what happens.
No. Okay. Now, first off,
you get to fight for exactly what Cardin doesn't like.
Okay, let me finish.
This country's awesome.
Let me finish here. I actually don't think, like my Melanated Scope, I do not doubt your motives. I bet you that in your mind, somebody has sold you on the idea that you will increase the lifestyle, livability, and human condition of somebody by increasing their minimum wage. Somebody has sold you on that. And they've probably used pseudoscience, non-economic theory, and politics in order to convince you. Because if you actually look into what increased minimum wage does to the inflation, the purchasing power of the poor, and these communities that are hit by it, you would actually be mortified of it. And your progressive ideals of helping the poor would be better served by something else.
Let me sum up. If anyone puts any progressive thing forward, Cardin just says, you actually just don't understand, you're wrong. And if you believed me and understood, dude, some people.
No, if you believed the info I present you with, because it's not me.
Some people come to different conclusions than you, man. And they look at stuff and they say, hey, I hear you. No, you know what they say? They say, I'm going to let you finish, but I have a different opinion than you. And it's not a big deal. Like, it's important. It's a lot more important that you have one group of people fighting for one thing and one group of people fighting for another than both those people attacking each other. Everyone.
No, I'm not attacking him. I'm saying I bet you he has good motives, and I think those motives would be better served by the free market system.
This is the mistake a lot of people make with politics thinking.
What?
And we've gone way too long. I'm going to wrap it up in here. Is that?
Tell me how I'm wrong, Cody.
I'm not telling you it's wrong. It's just that there isn't the formula to life, and it's not an argument. We're not trying to convince everybody to get on board with what that obviously true, pure formula that just works and will lead us to the promised land is. It doesn't exist, dude. Like, there's no, like, it isn't like we're arguing over the meaning of some. We didn't discover some ancient map, and we're not arguing over the meaning of the map.
But we discovered some basic values
people have
that are in the
ideas.
Bill of Rights that have made us the best society our world's seen in freaking thousands of years.
The Bill of Rights is literally propaganda to keep you in line. None of that shit's real. You don't have any of those rights. They basically violate every single one of them whenever they decide, you know what, we're violating it. Because they're not real.
You're too cynical, dog. You're too cynical.
Dude, it's just historical precedent is whenever those rights, whenever the state's like, it kind of sucks to give you those rights, they just take them away because they're not real. Whatever. Right now, the 6 months, you know what? You kind of, freedom to gather, not so much. Like, they just take it away. You just can't gather. Why? Pandemic. It's like I thought I had it right. No, you don't actually have
we have eroded. That is our problem as a people.
It's
that we have not stood up
I'm telling
with
you,
the same strength as our forefathers.
If they started putting soldiers in people's homes, and people came on the news and said, hey, you know, tough times, gotta do what you gotta do, gotta keep them safe, people would just be okay with it because they also understand they don't actually have rights to protect them. I mean, like, if the government wants to put soldiers in your home, they're gonna put soldiers in your home. If the government wants to say...
If you're suggesting that we are violating the best of our ideals currently as Americans, yes. And I think that is a product of leftist secularism in our society. As we have gotten rid of God in our national discourse, we have replaced it with the state because human beings are meant to worship. And either we worship God in some kind of symbolic way with a 30-second prayer before school starts, or else we end up just indoctrinating them thinking the state is the most powerful thing in their lives. And then they end up fearing, respecting, and serving the state instead of serving themselves. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if that's anything. Dude, it's just... Okay. You don't actually have rights in America. I don't know why I gotta tell people this, but you don't. The state knows it's easier to just not step all over your rights and violate them.
What do you mean we don't have rights? Donald Trump is an idiot. I just said on a YouTube channel, you can't do that in Russia.
Okay, here's the thing, though. That's not what a right is.
Okay.
It's easy right now for the powers that be to not clamp down at you for saying Donald Trump's an idiot. It's pretty easy, right? What if... and here's the thing, right?
That's better than most men have had for 4,000 years. What I'm saying is,
Cardin, a right is literally being allowed to put out what they call dangerous misinformation that can get people killed.
People do all the time.
Okay, but...
You ever gotten a leaflet in an Occupy movement?
They do, but hold on. Let me keep going. You'll notice when the government decides not this way, not now... Because it isn't actually here's the thing. If it was a right, there'd be obstacles. The government couldn't just snatch it away whenever it becomes convenient for them. But it's not actually a right. There's no actual barrier. As soon as actually knock it off, they just say knock it off and pull it back. Because there's no actual the document that you think's supposed to be there to block their hand so they can't just grab it and pull it back isn't there. They could just say that one's gone, that one's gone, that one's gone, that one. There's nothing anyone can do to stop it. Because they're not real rights.
Yeah, there's probably some truth to that, Cody.
Like, seriously, if they just came out tomorrow and said, you know what, nationwide, all firearms have to be exactly 47 inches long because that's like unwieldy and hard to use. it would the Constitution would say you couldn't do that, but there's no reason why it wouldn't actually happen. I mean, like, there's a million things. Like, dude, we are probably going to see what we have in America. Now, don't get me wrong. America does have, especially when it comes to speech, I think a lot of Americans don't know this as much. In Europe, and when I say Europe, really the rest of the kind of like European Western world, like countries you would think to be like America, Australia, New Zealand, England, France, Germany, right? Like, if you make a post on the internet that is just counters the narrative of the government, police can come to your house and arrest you. And you can go to jail and you can be tried. I think in England it's the Harmful Communications Act, something like that.
Yeah.
Legitimately, if you like insult someone, if you call them like a slur, the police can just come to your house and arrest you. I mean, like,
Yeah,
I
it's
do
pathetic.
understand that's not where we're at in America, but at the same time, don't
But what do you think got them there?
don't think that. Well,
What do you think got them
well, the
there? A
difference is-
disrespect for the idea of rights.
Well, no, they never had a First Amendment to begin with.
Okay, so maybe we are doing better, and we maybe have a little bit more.
I never said we're not doing better. We're doing a little bit more, but they're not.
George Bush
They're not like
did
they're
his
not-
best to get rid of him with the Patriot
They
Act.
are
and
not
Obama
God-granted
followed him up.
rights that the state has a really hard time obstructing. They're kind of privileges the state can rein in whenever the hell they want. You know what I mean? As far as I understood it, that wasn't the intention. A right isn't something the state could basically just delete off a computer. Like, the right is something the state would actually have to, like, jump through hoops and justify clamping down on. We don't have those. Every single right we have, the state can wave a pen and erase whenever they want. Sure, maybe sometimes the Supreme Court justice will call it unconstitutional, but how many times was it unconstitutional and just nobody actually said that or wrote that down on a piece of paper, so it just became the law, right? A lot of the time, I feel like.
Okay. And as your boy, Ben Shapiro, says, I know you're a huge fan, culture is upstream from politics. And if we as a culture no longer
I
permit
think
or
you're
demand
misquoting-
our
I think you're
rights,
misquoting that a bit.
then the politics will change so we have less of them. So as
Wait, no.
a culture, we need to be...
But I think what you mean is Andrew Breitbart said that politics is downstream from culture.
Was that Breitbart?
Yeah. Who is Ben Shapiro's mentor?
Oh, geez. Wow. Well, you know the entomology of all this far better than I do. Or etymology. Sorry. Entomology is the study of insects. Etymology is the study of the origins of words. So anyway, we're gonna have to wind up here pretty soon. If you have any last burning questions or any super chats you want to get out of your system, make sure that you throw them on right now. If you're just joining us, we covered Andrew Yang getting a little bit of rough and tumble with his New Yorkerness coming out, telling people, say it to my face if they challenge his New Yorkerness. We also looked at a couple of policies. And before we quit today, Cody, I want to know what do you think of Andrew Yang's Wall Street policies? Because that's one of the few things I'm actually interested in. Because he had, for example, talked about taxing individual trades in an attempt to disincentivize Wall Street speculation, which many people say is what led to the 2008 crisis. And one of the biggest criticisms of Democrats in general is that they talk a big progressive talk about, pushing up against Wall Street, but then they just take all the Goldman Sachs money, become their biznatches, and do their bidding. So Andrew Yang has already shown that he's willing to shirk some of his more, in my opinion, good ideas and replace them with the traditional neo-lib ideas, which sucked and are tired and haven't worked for 50 years. Do you think he will go soft on Wall Street so he can get along to go along?
I think
Or go
he needs
along
their
to get
money.
along.
I think he needs their money, and I think Wall Street. Dude, look, like, I like Andrew Yang. I think he's a good guy. If he gets elected mayor of New York City, he's going to sit down in a room and a bunch of people in suits are going to come in and tell him how things are going to go. You know what I mean? I think Wall Street runs a lot of stuff down there. I think they have for a while. That's just what I think about that. You can put whatever you want on paper. You can say you're going to do whatever you want to do. Also, like I always talk about, dude, these people, a lot of these people are looking long game, man. Like, okay, let's take a 12-year span, right? So if a company's taxes go up 6% in the first 4 years, and then go up another 2% in the second 4 years, and they go down 14% in the third 4 years, and they know that's what's going to happen, I wonder if they could structure their company to maybe be losing a lot of money when their taxes would be really high, and or whatever would be more beneficial to it. I don't know, man. It's just that, like, these people wake up every single day and play that game up there on Wall Street, and what they're going to do. The people, the politicians,
and they have so much money, it's so easy to get rid of $100,000.
The politicians have other stuff to do. Like these people are literally just focused on one thing, furthering their agenda, and I think they get further. I think politicians can try to curb them, but at the end of the day, man, it's hard.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for everybody that hung out with us today. This has been a crazy week. We're going to be back soon. Make sure you guys check in with us. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please. Hopefully we earned your subscription. Also, before you go, do us a favor and hit the like button. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you in the next video. One last thing?
I thought it was funny.
Okay.
Who was it? I think a couple people in chat brought it up. Sly Cactus asked if the Constitution has DLCs, and then who was it?
He also said, if the Constitution is so great, why isn't it laminated?
Well, no,
Mic
Adam
drop.
Duffy responded and said they're called amendments. I thought that's a good one.
What's a DLC?
There's some dad jokes I like. I don't like all of them. I think.
What's a DLC?
A DLC, it's like in a video game, additional content you would download to add to it later. So it's like the game will come out and then they'll add new levels to add. So it's like you have even though they're all called amendments, but there were some that basically always been there. But you know my point.
Okay, that is funny. Anyway, it's been real and it's been fun. It's been real fun. It's Problem Solver